Hey, scholars. Let's talk about Chapter 10, which is Human Resources, Job Design, and Work Measurement. And spent quite a bit of time on this in class. The three areas, human resources. And my key takeaway on human resources is there's only certain things as a manager you can do. You're not going to change people. You're going to maybe be able to teach them and train them, but you're not going to change them. If somebody's naturally neat and meticulous, that's a trait that maybe you're looking for. But if somebody's naturally sloppy and they need to be neat and meticulous and pay attention to detail, well, you're not going to train somebody who's one way to be another way. So start with the right type of individual. How do you do that? We talked about that in class. And testing is a great way to look at an individual. There's a lot of behavioral profiling tests. We talked about the DISC test in class, which breaks behavioral characteristics into 4 components: D, which is dominant; I, which is influence; C, which is compliance; and S, which is stable or steady. And everybody fits into those in some fashion or another. And depending on where they fit into that queue, maybe they are a good fit for your job or not a good fit for your job. If you have a job that's very repetitive and you do the same thing every day, and you put a high I or a high D into that job, they're probably not going to like it very much. But if you put an S in that job, that's a job made for them. So get the right person in the right job. We also talked about once you get people in the job, how do you know who your high performers are? How do you keep a team of high performers? And what I like to do is use that analogy of the dance that we went through. You rate your people 1 through 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. And the 5's your job as a manager and a leader is to just give them direction in terms of what they should be doing and then get out of their way and let them do it. 4's may need a little bit of training. 3's is where you spend most of your time as a decent manager, which is working with those people and helping them to do more, to learn more, and to be better, and or to help them be happy where they are. I mean, you need people in most organizations who are just happy where they are, and it's okay. Let them be there. 2's in the organization tend to exhaust managers, and most managers don't know what to do with them. I'll tell you what you do with them: you get rid of them. In a humane way, always. We always maintain people's self-respect and dignity as we are in the process of letting them go. We always give them an opportunity to be successful. I mean, that's assuming that they didn't do anything egregious, and you've got to fire them on the spot. Gross insubordination, for instance, stealing, things like that. Fire them on the spot for things like that. But if it's just job performance, then you give them an opportunity to succeed. You hope they will, probably won't. Get rid of them. The ones are just in the wrong position. Help them to be successful someplace else. So human resources is critical in a lot of areas, but I think those are the things that I think are most important there. As far as job design goes, a couple of things. One, start with the job description. What is it that you expect of this individual? What are the basics of the job? How are you going to measure their performance, and what do you expect out of them? And then after you have that done, then make sure that you have short-term goals and long-term goals. Typically, you're going to have, with my people, I was always, what are you going to be doing this week? What did you accomplish last week? What are you going to do this week? We have a staff meeting every week, and we went through that. And that's pretty common. And then longer term goals. What are you going to get done in the next month, in the next 6 months, in the next year? Depends on the employee. If you've got a 3 employee that wants to get better, maybe you're going to meet with them every month. Let's talk about the things that you have to do, and let's talk about how you're doing on them. Be a bit of a mentor to your employees. But that's all part of job design. So again, job description, short-term goals, longer-term goals, annual goals, etc. Work measurement, critically important. You've got to be able to give your people feedback on how they're doing. We talked about KPIs, key performance indicators. We've talked about KSFs, key KFS, key, it's in the chapter there. It'll come to me. But different ways to measure their performance. Productivity is a typical way to measure it. Customer satisfaction, another typical way to do it. Unit cost, typical way to do it. One of the ways we used to manage our managers was turnover rate. We try to hold them to a 15% annual turnover rate of their employees, et cetera, et cetera. So have metrics that you have for your people. We talked about the 4 stages of team development, which you all knew and recited: forming, storming, norming, and performing. And just go through a few things here. We talked about the Hawthorne Work Study a couple of times. You should have that down for the quiz or the test coming up. Work schedules, different types of schedules, some flexibility. It's really required more today than it was before. It used to be 8 to 5 kind of thing was pretty much acceptable to everybody, but it's not so much anymore. So we need to be a little bit more flexible there. Talked about the difference between a manager and a leader. The manager, they typically get the body and the mind of the individual. But a leader, what's a leader going to get that the manager doesn't get? The leader's going to get the heart and the spirit of the individual. So if you can move it up a little bit and you be a leader, what does a leader do? A leader inspires people. A leader has a vision, and he gets people excited about that vision. And that's what leaders do. Managers, they get the job done, and that's okay too. You need managers, no question about it. But in your own world, if you can figure out how to be a better leader, then if you got that heart and spirit, people will knock down walls for you. And it's because you care about them, and they know it. So work on that. Work on your leadership skills and abilities. We didn't talk about this in class, but I want to mention something called the goal-setting theory of motivation. So the goal-setting theory of motivation basically says that there's 4 things that, as you're giving goals to individuals, that you need to be thinking about. The first is goal specificity. So, what is the specific goal that you want somebody to do? You use that SMART format, which, the acronym, it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, delivers a result that you're looking for, and it's time-bound, SMART. And so get very specific. What is it that you want from the individual? Goal difficulty is the second one. So it needs to be hard enough, but not so hard it's going to trash them. So it needs to be something that's going to challenge them, but it's also within the realm of the reasonable that they can accomplish it. The next one is goal acceptance, and that's where the individual says, yeah, okay, I got it, it's mine. But it's not just, okay, it's mine, and I own it. I'm going to deny failure. I'm going to make this goal happen, and it's something that I fully embrace. And the last one is feedback. As a manager, you need to give good performance feedback to your team members to let them know how they're doing, and get some feedback from them as to how they are doing. I think that's about it for this chapter.